When do you start smiling?
And you leave the interview and your head's like heated because you've used so much brain power.
I was like, sympathetic activation.
Oh, I have to do that.
I hate medics.
Can you not expose my secret?
You expose yourself.
I need to.
Are we ready?
Do we smile?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, I am joined by these lovely people that I found hanging around on the streets of Oxford. Today we're going to be talking about medicine interviews and giving pieces of advice to you guys. And yeah, we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. We're all medics in our first year at Oxford at various different colleges. So for everyone, we're just going to go around and talk about the subjects that we did. Obviously, state your name, the college that you're at, the universities that you applied to, offers that you got, rejections that you got, if any, and then just any of the details like GCSEs, A-level grades. So I'll start. So my name is Francesca, obviously. I did for A-levels maths, chemistry, biology, and AS psychology. I applied to Oxford, Imperial, King's and Edinburgh, and I got all 4 offers. And for my GCSEs I got 10 A stars, so that was me.
I'm Chloe, I'm at Brasenose. I applied to King's College London, Queen's Belfast, Oxford and Newcastle. I did biology, chemistry and maths at A-level and further maths and EPQ at AS. I got all 4 offers and I got 8 A stars, an A and a B at GCSE.
Hi, I'm Arundhati. I'm at Merton, and so at A-level I did biology, chemistry, maths and Spanish, and I got 4 A stars. I was shocked too. And then so I applied to Oxford, Imperial, Leeds and Manchester, and somehow I managed to get 4 offers as well. I did 11 GCSEs and got 11 A stars.
Hi, I'm Greg. I applied to Oxford, Imperial, Birmingham and Edinburgh. I did not get into Edinburgh. I got into Imperial and Oxford. I got A star AA at A level, did biology, chemistry and maths. I did further maths for a year and a half and then dropped it in like February or January. Then I got 11 A stars and an A at GCSE.
Okay, so I'm in Yola. I'm at Exeter College. Okay, at A-level I did biochem, RS, AS physics and an EPQ. I got 3 A stars, 1 A and then a B in AS physics. GCSEs I got 10 A stars. What else am I going to say?
Yeah, when you important.
I applied to Oxford, Birmingham, Leicester and Edinburgh, and I didn't get into Edinburgh and I got offers for the others.
Just a quick disclaimer, when we applied to university, Edinburgh was one of the only med schools, I think, to not interview.
Yeah.
That's why I applied.
I did.
But now they interview, sorry guys.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. They introduced it this year.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I did maths, chemistry, biology at A-level and AS further maths, and I got 2 A stars and an A. I applied to Oxford, Sheffield, Nottingham and UCL, and I got 3 offers and I withdrew my application to Sheffield, so I will never know. But it's GCSEs, I got 12 A stars.
I forgot to say my A-level grades.
What A-levels?
2 A stars and an A.
Next set of questions will be about our general interview experience, a bit more context regarding our interviews, so UK CAT scores, BMAT scores, and if we can remember our favourite and worst interviews and why.
Okay, so generally interviews, I like them. Like, I feel like it was probably the better part of my application. What else? My BMAT. Okay, so I didn't do well in section 1 at all. Like, I got 4.9. Section 1. Section 2 was like 5.4.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then section 3 was 5A.
Ooh, 5! That's really good.
UK CAT was quite like standard, I guess, like 672.
General interviews, on the whole, I liked them. My first one was at Sheffield, which I really hated, but I think that kind of warmed me up and I wanted to do better. Actually, interesting fact about Sheffield, they gave out the questions.
I heard about that. I heard about that.
And I thought it was I thought it was just mind games, so I didn't even,
Tom, you played yourself.
I read them, but I didn't prepare anything.
Yeah.
I turned up for the interview and everyone was there with like sheets of A4 notes. And I thought, oh dear. And then I walked in and at the first station they said, right, we have these 3 questions, they're the only ones we're allowed to ask you. And it was for every station it was the questions you got given. So
No way.
it wasn't a good experience. The way I read the email was, these could be the questions, so I didn't want to waste time focusing on them and turn out actually they're not anything to do with it. I thought it was just kind of like to get you thinking. But then yeah, Oxford was intense, but I enjoyed some of them, didn't enjoy others. And then I think my easiest was probably UCL because I had my Oxford offer already.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that gives you like a confidence.
I was really relaxed walking in, it was really chilled. BMAT, I preferred the BMAT to UK CAT. Section 1, I think I got like low 6s. I can't really remember.
That's pretty
That's
good.
impressive.
That's like above average.
Very
Well
close to
above
that.
average.
And then Section 2 I got low 7 I think.
Oh my god, that is like, you're a genius.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
I
crazy.
got 4 or 4.5 A.
That's pretty good.
So yeah,
That's like a strong set.
I
of
much
BMAT.
prefer to BMAT to UK CAT. And then UK CAT was like 7, 20, 30.
Which is still really good.
Really good.
It was much better than all of my practices, so yeah, don't let practice fool you.
So UK CAT, BMAT. UK CAT did not do very well. I don't actually remember my exact scores. BMAT was okay. It was, I think I didn't get 6s. I was a bit annoyed about that. But actually, yeah, I got me an interview. I was surprised I got an interview. And my essay was a disaster. I actually got, I think, what was it, like 2.5A, which is quite, yeah. But you know, I think you just have to do like good enough to get an interview.
Yeah.
I think
That was my thing, like get an interview.
Get an interview and then the interview's what matters.
Exactly.
For my interview experience, so I interviewed at Oxford and Imperial. I actually quite enjoyed most of my Oxford interviews, except for one of them where I was given a really, really confusing graph and just like broke down. Yeah, I remember looking out the window for a good like 5 seconds thinking, okay, I'm not getting it. But then, yeah, luckily I think the ones at Brasenose went quite well. And I actually quite enjoyed talking about it. And that's one thing I'd say, just try and enjoy it. You're not expected to know everything. And I think if you go in with a mindset that you want to know everything, you're just going to stress out when you don't know something. But if you just try and even if you say something wrong, if it's interesting, they'll like that. So.
another story. I played myself again. In one of my Oxford interviews, they asked me if I knew about a topic, and I was like, yeah, I have read about that, yeah. And he was like, okay, and then went on to something else. Changed the topic. So if they ask you if you know, you can like just pretend you've never heard about it. I mean, it's a bit immoral.
As a
Yeah.
doctor.
But yeah, so.
Integrity, Tom.
I was honest, but I'm just saying that if you're ever in that situation, you could play the system.
I enjoyed my interviews as well. I had MMIs apart from Oxford. My first one was King's, which I really enjoyed because I got to go down to London by myself. And then my next one was Oxford, which was a life experience. But I enjoyed them. And then Belfast and Newcastle were good as well. They were just normal MMIs, I suppose. My UK CAT was, I don't know the average, but the overall was 3,000.
That is impressive. That's 750. That is like,
Whoa.
I hated the BMAT. I came out crying afterwards. I got below average.
You're here now, it's fine.
But I'm here now.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
like 3A in the essay, like 4s in the 1 and 2. I think my favourite interview was probably the Oxford one, just because like it's such a weird experience and like it's nothing that you get anywhere else. But I didn't really have any bad interviews. Like I enjoyed them all, even if they were a bit like stressful.
Oh, so for me, it was a bit of a gamble, to be honest. I did the UK CAT. I think I got a fairly decent score. I got an average of 702.5. But then I wasn't really sure like how that kind of measured up against everyone else. And then I decided that I just hated myself and decided to apply to 3 BMAT unis without knowing my BMAT score.
That was risky.
Yeah. Which was fun. The BMAT was, it was okay. I can't remember my exact score. I think I just did about average. I did well enough to get all my BMAT interviews. And I think that was, I preferred the BMAT over the UK CAT. In terms of my interview experiences, they were all so varied. It's quite hard to say which one I liked the most. I did 2 MMIs and 2 panel interviews. Imperial was good. Oxford was like amazing. I'm such a tourist. Even now I'm such a tourist. Like I came in and I was like, oh my god, it's like Hogwarts. And then we had dinner in like this really pretty old hall. And I was like, oh my god, it is Hogwarts. And then I was just walking around. There was a Christmas tree and I was like, wow, Christmas. So like apply to Oxford if you're into like a tourism. For me, like MMIs are so draining. They're so intense. Manchester was so cool. They had like this little like voice that would like speak to us.
Wait, what? At your station?
No, like it would tell us to move on. And then it's very exciting.
Okay.
MMIs are intense. As our panel, they're all intense, but stay strong, guys. Like
you'll make it through, and when you look back, you'll be so proud of yourself.
It preps you for like job interviews and stuff. Like a
Very
job
true.
interview is nothing.
If you can do a medicine interview, you can do an interview for anything. Right. So my interview experience. Right. So my general interview experience was quite varied because I had 1 MMI, which was at King's College. I had 1 panel interview, which was at Imperial, and I actually had a panel of 5 people. And then I had a traditional interview at Oxford. I had 4 at Oxford. My UK CAT score was 700, which was quite average, a little bit. Yeah, I can roll with 700. So that's why I took the gamble of applying to Edinburgh, because I thought my stats were quite good. My BMAT score was a bit more tragic. So I got a 5.0. No, but like I was expecting to get, I don't know what was going through my head. I was expecting to get 7s.
The thing that I realised when I came here is that people's BMATs aren't as amazing as you think they are.
You get the odd few who got like 8.5 and 9.
How are you?
But the majority, exactly, the majority get below. So I got 5.0 in section 1, 5.4 in section 2, and 3.5A in my section 3. So it was like average, slightly above average. But I was really worried for a while that I wouldn't get an interview. So when I did get the email about my Oxford interview, I started jumping in the middle of the streets and rang my mum straight away. My worst interview experience was definitely at Imperial. My favourite interview experience was definitely at Oxford. Half of them I left thinking I was like really stupid and that I wouldn't get an offer. But the second half of my interviews, I enjoyed the intellectual conversation that we were having, and we were talking about concepts I was passionate about, and I left some of my interviews having learnt things, so it's quite nice in that sense. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A section. I put on my Instagram for you guys to ask me questions, and a lot of you sent in questions, so thank you for that. The first kind of category of questions were relating to topics within interviews, so medical topics. So Elizabeth_UNG asked, are there any key tips for answering medical ethics questions? Question mark.
Watch Ali Abdal's video.
Ali Abdal is the best.
I'd say an easy way to start is like consider both sides of the argument and make it clear that you understand both sides, and then work
Very
from
true.
there.
The 5 pillars.
Four. I actually started questioning myself. I was like, there's a 5th pillar.
I don't even know.
The 5th pillar is you.
Oh,
Simply,
GMC guidelines and like have a read.
Just know how just know the basics of like what the GMC are, like how it's regulated, just the structures and like the BMA and GMC, NICE, and like just how all the organisations fit together and like and how they kind of regulate doctors and that kind of thing.
If you do well in the SJT of the UK CAT,
it's
I'd
basically
say
that. It's fine.
Yeah,
Also,
very
like,
true.
There's a book, I think it's Tony Hope, a short intro
to medical ethics. To be fair, I found that quite complicated.
I just read it. I read all of
it.
it, but I just scan through.
Probably read about the quality of adjusted life years. That's like
that was quite interesting. So the next question was by JinJess.x, and her question was similar. So how to prepare for NHS and Brexit questions.
You don't need to do too much read. I mean, read the news a little bit.
Yeah, current affairs are important.
Yeah.
As long as
Yeah.
you show general awareness of what's happening, I think that's enough. You just need to be able to discuss it and just know that what's going on. But BBC News is probably like enough. Like Guardian, they're really good sources, and they just condense it in a really digestible way. So just
Don't
read
worry
the
about
news
it too
and
much.
it's okay.
And something else that was quite useful was the medic portal. So
Yeah.
they literally helped me for every aspect of my application. And they have like a section on the NHS and NHS hot topics. And often I found that like during my MMIs, they didn't really orientate any questions towards politics, because I heard that they try to avoid talking about politics because it is quite like a controversial topic, and it doesn't necessarily showcase which candidate is better than another, like because like you're not applying for a politics degree or applying to become a doctor.
And also if you've got any medic friends who are also applying, speak to them, see if they've read anything different to you, and that's just a nice way to
It's also good to like practice with them.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yeah, just having conversations.
It's actually really helpful. Don't compete with each other.
Coming back to competition, as cheesy as it might sound, like if you're good enough to be a doctor, you will like, or you get into medical school, you will get in. So you shouldn't see your friends as competition or like try and like sneak each other out.
It's
So
all
just
about
it's against yourself. So just be the best that you can, really.
And often the nicest thing is on results day, like everyone's celebrating that you all got into med school. Next question was sent in by Khadija.x.y, and her question is, were you expected to know a lot about the diseases that you mentioned in your personal statement?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like they can use things, like they can use the personal statement as an icebreaker, because they know that you'll know this stuff, and then they go into other things, but they wouldn't go into too much depth. I think
Have a general idea.
Yeah, like other interviews, other unis probably more, but here I think out of my 4 interviews only spent, I think, like a minute and a half talking about my personal statement.
And for me as well, a lot of interviews started off asking me things about my personal statement and using that as like the first 10 minutes of a 20-minute interview. So I wrote about neuroscience in mine, and then I got asked about that in 3 out of 5 interviews. So I don't expect you to have a factual recall, but if you do mention it on your personal statement, you are expected to know a fairly high level of at a fairly high level, and if someone is a researcher in their field, and they will have a higher expectation of it. So if you're putting something down in the personal statement, make sure you know enough to talk about it at length, and it's really a blessing. It really is, because you can shape the interview and you can talk about things you like. So use it to your best.
Like knowing the stuff that you've put in your statement means that when they do it as an icebreaker, you actually have an icebreaker, because like you're not stressed at the start of the interview, because that's what they want, because they expect you to have read it and like learned about it.
Next question was by Nahok.n. Do we need to know the entire A-level biology specification, or just the bits that we've learned?
They asked me in my interview at Oxford, have you done this at school? And so I was just like, no, I haven't. And then they were like, okay, well, I'll explain it to you. And then they explained it to me, and it was fine. In other interviews, they weren't really based off A-level knowledge. It was quite ethics and current affairs heavy. So I wouldn't worry too much about
once
learning.
again, it's not about like the content. They don't want it to be like as much as you. They don't care how much.
It's not factual recall.
It's not factual recall. That's the thing. They want you to be able to think, and
it's like a practice tutorial for Oxford.
100%.
And if you don't know something, even if it is in your A-level and you should have known it because you've already covered it.
I made loads of mistakes.
Yeah, I made loads of mistakes, but it doesn't matter because they want to see how you think. And learning stuff is sort of not easy, but easier than being able to think.
They're definitely not trying to catch you out. If they can see that you clearly don't know anything about the subject, then either they'll explain to you like a bit about it, as they did with Arundhati, or they'll just move on to something that you're more comfortable discussing, because they are trying to evaluate your teachability, especially at Oxbridge, as well as like obviously your intellect, but it's more so your teachability, because it doesn't matter where you start, it's all about how far they can stretch you within that time frame of your interview.
It's like a trial for both you and the interviewer.
Very
so
true.
If you get on with the tutorial system, because not everyone does.
That's quite
It's
true.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
so if you're into the interview stage, like you're smart enough. Like, it's just a case of are you suited, and it's better for you to not like get in if you're not suited.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know people who are far more intelligent than me, and they are genuinely the most intelligent people I know, and they didn't get in. But that's not it's not a reflection on your intelligence. It's just a reflection on the way you like to learn things.
And equally, if you do end up getting an offer from Oxford, that's obviously incredible, and you've done so well to get that far. But don't look at it as the end all be all. And do consider like you've got other options. If
you can reject it.
You can reject it, and I've heard of people who have rejected Oxford to go to other universities because they are better suited for that type of course, or because they like elements in one university as opposed to Oxford. We're going to talk about more general questions now relating to all types of interviews.
Oh, we need to address that we've lost one.
Oh yeah. So unfortunately, due to unforeseen particular circumstances, we've lost a member of the group, Arundhati. I'm joking. She had to go off because she had other things to do.
Busy life.
Such a busy medic.
Life at Oxford.
She went to the library.
She's doing her work.
Next question was by an interesting guy called Greg. Who's that? And he asked, how do you handle awkward tutors or awkward silences in your interviews?
Please let me know.
Yes.
I think with the Oxbridge interviews in particular, because with all interviews it's like on a one-to-one basis, but often Oxbridge interviews can be quite daunting because of their reputation. It is, I don't know, I would recommend voicing your thought process, and often I find that helps with awkward silences. So even if you don't directly know the answer, if you kind of have a starting point, maybe go from there, and often if the interviewer can see that you're struggling, they will kind of prompt you in a particular direction, or they'll reword their question, and often that helps, because awkward silences can be not the best start to an interview.
But I did have some interviewers, not at Oxford, but at other ones, that were like kind of uninterested and like really a bit like.
Tell me about it.
So like, be prepared that not all your interviews are going to be like. Woo!
And there's like the typical, if you asked a question you don't know the answer to, instead of having a silence, what I did all the time as well, I know that this happens.
Exactly.
So if this happens and this might be similar, maybe this, like just kind of voice your thoughts.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to like take a few seconds.
Exactly.
Pause.
Collect.
Process.
And don't be afraid to say, could you give me a few pointers, or can you give me like
rephrase?
Exactly. Could you rephrase the question?
I say that in tubes.
The worst thing to say, I think, in an Oxford interview is I don't know, because you will know something.
Use what you do know.
Exactly.
You could say I don't know, but
Even if it's completely like, it doesn't seem like it's relevant at all. I remember not being able to say something, and for some reason the only thing that popped into my head was like talking to someone earlier about potassium in bananas, and then I thought, wow, I'm going to talk about potassium in bananas.
Yeah.
Because it's somehow, even though it was like not directly related to the question, I guess it shows lateral thinking.
Very true. And the next question is by Nazneen Aslan, and she asked, what do I wear to an interview?
It's not casual.
They literally,
this is a big question.
They're not judging you on what
They're
you look
dressed in
like.
whatever they like as well.
I played myself again. Turned up to my first interview in like chinos and a shirt.
Is this at Oxbridge or?
Oh no, this is at Sheffield.
Sheffield University.
Everybody there was in suits.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
I felt that overdressed.
I felt very underdressed and a bit, so that spooked me out a little bit. So then for my next MMI, which was at Nottingham, I went in a suit and I was the only person in a suit. So
it's so very.
You know what it is though?
just do what. Don't worry about other people.
Yeah,
just
what
be comfortable.
What did you all wear here?
So I wore the same thing here that I did in my MMI, which is just like smart trousers and then a top.
So a bit of smart casual.
Yeah, so it could work like
I think
either way.
I had chinos and a
Yeah,
shirt.
one day.
I'm not gonna lie, I also saw a video, what's her name? Renee and like someone on YouTube.
Connie Daniela.
Yeah, Connie Daniela, her. She said
Shout
that the what's it called? The sofas you sink in, so like don't wear like really short.
Oh, that's good. You have to be practical. Why the fuck?
That's actually.
See, I would never think of that, but
I don't know why you wouldn't think about
Wear
that.
trousers.
Wear trousers, wear like thick tights because like you don't want to be.
Revealing.
Just wear your school trousers.
We want to be
that's
revealing your
fine.
thoughts, not your body parts.
Whoa! Demonetized. Thanks, guys.
So fun.
I think another question from Nazneen Aslam. How do you respond to a question that you don't know the answer to?
Thought, speak your thoughts.
Just take a
What
second
you
to.
do know.
remember that you're probably not expected to know the answer.
Yeah.
And they actually would rather you give an answer that's completely wrong, but that's really interesting, than the right answer that's really boring, I'd say. because it shows how you think.
Also, don't feel compelled to fill awkward silences.
Yeah.
Like, often it's better to take that extra second to think about your answer than to give an answer that you haven't thought about. And when you say it, like, you realise that it was either stupid or like below your your capabilities in terms of your
But
answer.
if that
But you will
happens, just be
definitely-
like, sorry, can I do that?
Yeah.
The number of times I said stupid things.
Exactly, stupid things. It's not the end all of
But,
your
you
interview.
should avoid it if you can.
Yeah. But don't stress.
Top tip
Yeah.
from Greg: avoid saying stupid things in your interviews.
If it happens, just take a step back and you'll be fine.
Take it in stride.
The next question was sent in by Masafe,
How to not be nervous.
and her question was, how do you avoid being nervous?
Practice.
Yeah.
You just
I
follow
think
your
you'll
zone.
always be nervous.
You will
Yeah.
It'd be
nervous.
weird if you weren't.
Except
Not gonna
that
lie.
you
I
can
think
be
nerves
nervous.
help as well.
Yeah.
So adrenaline does help.
Oh yeah.
Just don't let it become.
Don't let
so,
it
so
overwhelm
bad.
you.
Yeah.
Talk to
Definitely.
people in the waiting area if it's an
Yes,
NLI.
definitely.
I
If
did
that
a
helps
practice
you.
interview with my headmaster in front of the rest of my year. And after,
What?
after doing that, when I said
You
nothing
opted to
could
do that,
touch me-
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
fair
chose it. Nothing could
Okay.
touch me anymore. Like, I was just not scared because
Yeah.
that was the most stressful experience like, of sixth form. So put yourself in an uncomfortable position beforehand so that you're not as like stressed out.
Next question, and this is related to the MMIs, which stand for multiple mini interviews. This was sent in by Eluk_Chiha 2001. What? Their question was, what is the best way to approach a crying patient situation? Is there a particular
Greg.
framework you used?
What? Oh, just your story.
Yeah, I think Greg has an interesting story to share with us.
So I did, luckily this was a practice MMI, not the real thing, but it was like an empathy station, and there was a prompt on the door that said, your friend has come back from, or your friend went on holiday, left her cat with you, she's come back and like the cat has died, you have to break the news to her. And like I walked in and this wasn't a doctor, it was an actual actor, which is like, yeah, and I just couldn't stop laughing. For the whole thing, I was laughing. It was so bad. I thought,
Why were you laughing though?
because I don't know, because she took it so seriously and she was so like, and then the worst thing was that I thought she'd like snap out of her role and say,
Oh, no.
okay, let's start again. She didn't. She kind of.
Oh, she went with it.
She went with it and she said, it's not funny, how dare you laugh? And that didn't
That's
help.
not
And I'm
ideal.
really bad for like laughing in these situations, so try not to laugh.
That's why
Looking back to that situation, if you were to advise your year 12 self, what would you tell them?
I would,
Imagine it's
I-
just apologize.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say just apologise. You're not going to go wrong with
It isn't
apologising.
but like just take me out.
Yeah.
Just say sorry, I'm serious.
But what I would
And
have
it's
done
one
before is practice more of those situations, like
definitely.
get friends or whatever to try and, well, not cry, maybe not cry, but try and create these
distressed.
situations and I have to.
Make your friends practice it.
Yeah.
I just, with those kind of ones, just imagine it's someone you actually care about, and then what would you say to
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, that's true.
Just imagine it was real. If that was
And our last question for today was sent in by Fran _Ward 55, and she says, this isn't totally about interviews, but how do you stay motivated and not feel like a failure in your studies? Question mark.
so true.
I mean,
Tell me.
I think everyone feels unmotivated.
Yeah, I
sometimes,
think-
like you just go through peaks and
It's like up
troughs.
and down, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Find, like,
I
a
think it's just
mentor.
something that you're constantly learning throughout your life, finding that balance between staying motivated but at the same time looking after like your mental health and all that kind of thing. It's not something I haven't perfected the art of it yet.
Don't work yourself to the ground.
You-
Yeah,
you
take
know-
a break if you need to.
Yeah, you know you, so
Yeah.
if nothing's going in, you're just not having a good day, just
Take
take
it, yeah.
put yourself away from it. Pool is a really good way
Pool.
of doing that. Exercising,
please
that kind of thing. Just
Do not compare yourselves to anyone
Yeah.
else.
Definitely,
I
definitely.
cannot stress
Comparison
this
is the thief of joy.
Honestly, like either you're
No, honestly, that's a quote. It's
either
a
you get
quote.
proud or you get like insecure. So just don't do it. Like no
Yeah.
outcome is ideal. Just
It's your journey.
it's your.
Yeah. People only
Don't
talk
compare.
about the stuff that they know, so
Yeah,
like
just
the chance that
they're
I
hiding.
won't know as well. So
And if you need a break and someone else is working 24/7, just take your break. Like,
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't be working 24/7. It's not worth
don't
it.
envy that.
Sometimes you feel like you're waiting to be in the right study mindset to study and you're like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
feeling it right now, but doing something is better than doing nothing.
That is true, yeah,
And
definitely.
even if you're not feeling at your best or you're tired or whatever, like it's better than just doing nothing.
That's
And,
quite true.
Yeah,
But don't work 24/7.
but also don't work 24/7.
At your most low,
Hello.
come in.
Sorry, I interrupted mid-flow.
Oh, Harrison, back again.
Come join it. You can take.
Oh my god, yes, we're about to finish. So you can come.
Okay,
He
much
said-
You can answer the last question
You have
actually, no
to-
pressure. Okay, so what's your name, Harrison?
I'm Harrison France.
Okay.
I'm Harrison France.
Look at the lens, by the way. What subjects did you do and what universities did you apply to?
So I did biology, chemistry and maths.
Woo!
Pretty standard mix.
Yeah, pretty basic.
And then obviously I applied to Oxford. I applied to Bristol, Exeter and Plymouth.
Nice.
And I didn't
And
have
did you
an
get
honours.
offers from all?
I got offers from Oxford and Exeter only.
Woo! Oh, okay.
So
And you got.
I withdrew my application from Plymouth.
One thing I would still say though is like I withdrew my application from Birmingham because they had the same offer as Oxford
Oh, yeah.
and others.
Yeah, they'll drop it.
They
then.
would have dropped it,
Yeah.
and actually this year they've now dropped it to 3 A's.
Have
So,
they?
yeah.
Birmingham was an
I always wondered why it was an
Birmingham was
Yeah,
an A star
Birmingham
today.
was an
It
A
was
star
cheap.
today.
Sorry, what was it?
Birmingham was a little bit cheeky.
Birmingham.
Stop violating on your own channel.
I know! How can I get violated on my own channel?
That's actually rude.
Sorry.
Simply Fran exposed.
Okay, is that it?
Can we have a little thing and do something in the comments? How do you say Birmingham? Is it Birmingham? Or
No, we're not. Yeah, thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. Hopefully these pieces of advice were useful, and if you have any questions for any of these people, just stick it in the comment section below. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, yay! Click that bell if you want to be notified anytime I have new uploads. And yeah, thanks for being here. Bye.
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 I have my notifications on.
Okay.
Do you actually?
I don't.
I'm
Guys, do you